The children's table is over there. My mother pointed to a small corner of the grand ballroom, her diamond bracelet catching the light. Really, Emma, at 32, you should have brought a date instead of those investment papers. I glanced down at my portfolio updates. Total real estate holdings, $8.2 billion. Recent acquisitions, 60% of downtown commercial property. Status, undisclosed owner. The St. Regis ballroom glittered with Chicago's elites celebrating my father's 65th birthday. A birthday being held in a hotel I secretly owned, though they'd never bothered to ask what I did for a living. Still playing with your little investments? My brother Thomas smirked, adjusting his Rolex, a cheap replica of the genuine article sitting in my safe. You know, real estate requires serious capital, not just reading market reports. My phone buzzed. Ms. Roberts' acquisition of Pioneer Tower complete. You now own 75% of Michigan Avenue properties. Emma, my sister-in-law Catherine glided over, dripping in designer labels. Do you try to look more professional? The Vanderwells are asking about you. Though we told them you're still finding your direction. The Vanderwells, whose entire office complex I'd acquired last month through one of my shell companies. They were currently begging my property management firm for a lease renewal. Finding my direction? I smiled slightly. Something like that. Ms. Roberts, another message flashed. Chicago Tribune investigation into city's largest property owner near completion. Your identity likely to be revealed within the hour. I smoothed down my simple black Chanel dress, worth more than Catherine's entire wardrobe, and headed toward the children's table. Let them think I was accepting their dismissal. In exactly 47 minutes, they'd learn who really owned this city. Look at her, Thomas Stage whispered to Dad. 32 and sitting with kids. When I was her age, I was already managing major properties. I managed half the city's real estate portfolio, but who was counting? My phone buzzed again. Final property valuation complete. Your net worth $12.4 billion. Forbes investigation pending. Emma, my mother's best friend Mrs. Hairston approached the children's table. Dear, have you considered that real estate course I mentioned? The one for beginners. I had considered it, right before I bought the institution that offered it. Along with most of the city's commercial real estate training centers. Still reading those investment guides? Dad called out, his voice carrying across the ballroom. Real estate isn't learned from books, Emma. It's about connections, capital, experience. Like the connections I'd built while they weren't watching? The capital I'd accumulated while they mocked my little investments? The experience of building an empire in secret? Ms. Roberts, my CFO messaged, Wall Street Journal profile ready to publish. Your position as city's largest property owner will be public in 30 minutes. I watched Thomas holding court near the bar, probably bragging about his massive portfolio of 3 downtown buildings. He had no idea that I owned the land under all of them. Such a shame. My mother sighed to her friends. All that education and she ends up reading investment reports at children's tables. Those investment reports detailed my ownership of most of Chicago's prime real estate. Including this hotel where they were celebrating Dad's birthday without realizing who their landlord was. Ms. Roberts, another alert flashed. Your acquisition of Lakefront Plaza is complete. You now control 80% of premium office space downtown. I sat at the children's table watching the city's elite celebrate, none of them knowing that the directionless daughter owned most of the buildings they worked in, lived in, and bragged about. Time check. 20 minutes until publication, my PR director messaged. All major news outlets standing by. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's watching them celebrate in a building you own while they mock your little investments. Another round of champagne. Thomas announced, raising his glass. To Dad's success in real estate. I checked my phone, 15 minutes until the story broke. 15 minutes until they learned who really dominated Chicago's real estate market. Ms. Roberts, my phone lit up. Tribune reporter requesting final comment on story. Shadow investor revealed. The 32-year-old woman who owns half of Chicago. Still reading investment blogs? Catherine sauntered over to my table, wine glass in hand. You know, Thomas just acquired his 4th building. What was your last investment? A parking spot. I smiled, thinking of the parking company I'd bought last week. All 200 downtown locations. Something like that. 10 minutes to publication, my PR director messaged. CNN and Fox Business picking up the story. From my corner I could see Dad bragging to his country club friends. Property is about legacy, he was saying. Like Thomas's portfolio. Not everyone has the instinct for it. Instinct. Like knowing when to buy entire city blocks through shell companies? Like controlling the majority of Chicago's commercial real estate while they thought I was playing with investments? Ms. Roberts, another alert flashed. Your net worth just updated. $13.1 billion with latest acquisitions. You are now the largest private property owner in 3 states. Emma, Mom appeared, pearls glinting. At least try to mingle with adults. Though what you talk about? Real estate, perhaps? I suggested mildly. She laughed. Oh darling, leave that to your brother. Thomas understands the market. 5 minutes, iPhone buzzed. Wall Street Journal headline ready. Mystery billionaire's empire exposed. How one woman secretly bought Chicago. Thomas was back, this time with his real estate buddies. Hey sis. We're discussing the Morrison Building acquisition. But that's probably too complex for your investment reports. The Morrison Building, which I'd bought through a shell company last month, right before denying Thomas's bid to purchase it. Mr. Davidson, I heard Thomas telling his friend, you should see my new office tower. Prime downtown location. Davidson turned pale. He'd just received notice that his company's lease in Thomas's building wouldn't be renewed. The notice had come from my property management firm. 2 minutes to publication, my PR director updated. All major networks standing by. Emma, Catherine called out loudly, tell everyone about your latest investment. Was it another online course? I stood up from the children's table, smoothing my dress. Actually, my latest acquisition was this hotel. What? Thomas laughed. The St. Regis? Right. And I own the Sears Tower. 1 minute, iPhone buzzed. Actually, I smiled, I own that too. Before they could respond, every phone in the ballroom buzzed simultaneously. The story had broken. Breaking news. Chicago's mystery property mogul revealed. Emma Roberts controls $13.1 billion real estate empire. The silence that followed was deafening. I watched as hundreds of faces turned from their phones to stare at the woman they'd banished to the children's table. That's impossible, Thomas stammered, his phone shaking in his hand. Ms. Roberts, my assistant messaged, CNN is live with the story. Your brother's building management contract termination has been processed. The ballroom erupted in chaos as more alerts flooded everyone's phones. Headlines scrolled across screens, each one revealing another layer of my empire. Shadow investor owns 80% of Michigan Avenue. Mystery billionaire controls Chicago's skyline. Real estate empire built in secret by unemployed heiress. Ms. Roberts, my phone buzzed, CNBC requesting immediate interview. Your net worth has adjusted to $13.4 billion with market response. This is absurd, Thomas sputtered, frantically scrolling through the news. Emma doesn't even have an office. Actually, I smiled, I have several. Including the entire top floor of Pioneer Tower. You know, the building you tried to buy last month. Dad stumbled forward, his birthday celebration forgotten. Pioneer Tower? But they rejected our bid. They rejected your bid, I corrected him. They accepted mine. Along with most of the downtown corridor you've been trying to acquire for the past decade. Ms. Roberts, another message flashed. Wall Street Journal releasing documents showing your ownership of Thomas Roberts Properties building locations. Thomas's face went from red to white. Pie buildings are on land I own, I finished for him. Your lease expires next month, by the way. I don't think we'll be renewing it. Catherine grabbed her husband's arm. But your little investment reports were portfolio updates on my $13 billion real estate empire. I pulled out my tablet, displaying a map of Chicago with my properties highlighted. The entire downtown glowed red. That's not possible, Mom whispered. You sit at children's tables. I sat at the children's table, I corrected her, while owning the hotel it's in, along with most of the buildings you can see through these windows. My phone lit up again, Forbes updating billionaire list. You are now ranked as youngest female real estate mogul in U.S. history. Emma, Dad found his voice, banker's instincts kicking in. Why didn't you tell us? We could have worked together. Like when you told the Vanderwells I was finding my direction? I raised an eyebrow. Or when Thomas mocked my little investments while trying to lease property I owned. The room had gone silent, everyone watching this family drama unfold. These were the same people who'd dismissed me for years, who'd laughed at my investment hobby. Ms. Roberts, my assistant messaged, your property management firm has received 200+ panic calls from current tenants, including your brother's company. Speaking of tenants, I turned to Thomas, you should check your email. All properties under Thomas Roberts Properties have new ownership terms. Effective immediately. He grabbed his phone, face paling further as he read. These rent increases. They're impossible. Actually, they're market rate, I smiled. I should know. I set the market in this city. But your corner office. Catherine stammered. My corner office? I laughed softly. You mean my operations center that controls most of Chicago's commercial real estate? The one you called cute last Christmas. More phones buzzed as another wave of news broke. Roberts' empire revealed. How Chicago's largest landlord hid in plain sight. All those times. Mom sank into a chair. All those times we told you to get serious about real estate. I was serious, I replied. Serious enough to buy every property Dad failed to acquire. Serious enough to build an empire while you were banishing me to children's tables. Ms. Roberts, my phone lit up. Time magazine requesting cover interview. The silent queen of Chicago real estate. I gathered my things, preparing to leave. Oh, and Dad? Happy birthday. Consider this your gift. A lesson in what real estate empire actually looks like. Wait, Thomas called out desperately. Pie properties are now my properties, I finished. Don't worry, I'll let you keep your office. The one in the building I bought last year. Though perhaps at the children's table rate. As I walked toward the door, I heard Catherine whisper, all this time, while we were mocking her investments. Ms. Roberts, my assistant messaged, your new building sign is ready. Roberts Empire Tower, founded by Emma Roberts. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's watching them realize that the child at the table owned every building in sight. I paused at the doorway, turning back one last time. When Mom? About finding my direction? Check the Chicago skyline. I think you'll see exactly which direction I found. The door closed behind me, leaving them in a hotel I owned, surrounded by an empire they never saw coming. After all, who looks for a real estate mogul at the children's table? The next morning, Chicago woke up to a transformed skyline. Every major building now bore subtle Roberts Holdings plaques in their lobbies. My empire, hidden for years, was finally visible to all. Ms. Roberts, my assistant called as I entered my top-floor office in Pioneer Tower. Your family has been trying to reach you. Also, the mayor would like to schedule a meeting. I smiled, looking out over the city, my city. The morning news played on multiple screens. Chicago's real estate queen. How Emma Roberts built a $13.4 billion empire in secret. From children's table to boardroom. The hidden billionaire of Michigan Avenue. Roberts' family shocked. Daughter owns family's rejected properties. My phone buzzed with a message from Thomas. Emma, please. My investors are panicking. We need to talk. Before I could respond, my security team alerted me. Ms. Roberts, your father and brother are in the lobby demanding to see you. Let them wait, I replied, watching them through the security feed. They looked small from up here, standing in my lobby surrounded by my empire. Ms. Roberts, my CFO messaged, latest acquisition complete, Hampton Plaza. Your brother's last remaining independent lease has been terminated. I pressed the intercom. Send them up. Let's show them what a little investor can build. The elevator doors opened and Thomas burst in, Dad following close behind. They stopped short, taking in my office, all 10,000 square feet of it, with a view of every building I owned. Emma, Dad started, his voice less confident than last night. We need to discuss this situation. Situation. I gestured to the wall of screens showing my properties. You mean my ownership of half the city? Or perhaps Thomas's soon-to-be terminated leases. You can't just take over everything. Thomas exploded. I've spent years building my portfolio. 3 buildings, I corrected him. You built 3 buildings. On land I own. Would you like to see my portfolio? I touched a button and the screens filled with data. Hundreds of properties, billions in assets, an empire built while they mocked my investment reports. Ms. Roberts, my phone lit up. Wall Street Journal releasing full investigation. How Chicago's elite failed to notice their biggest landlord. But how? Dad sank into a chair. We monitor every major real estate deal in the city. Shell companies, I smiled. Different names, different banks. While you were watching the front door, I was buying the whole building. Thomas paced frantically. My investors will pull out if we lose those leases. They already have. I showed him the latest market report. Thomas Roberts' Properties stock is down 60% since last night. Apparently, investors prefer the real Roberts empire. Emma, Dad tried again, we're family. Surely we can work something out. Family. I raised an eyebrow. Like when you worked out my seating at children's tables. Or when you told potential investors I was playing with real estate. My phone buzzed again. Chicago Business Journal. Roberts' dynasty crumbles as daughter's empire emerges. I'll buy you out, Thomas said desperately. Whatever you want. I laughed. With what money? Your entire company is worth less than my smallest shopping center. The screens behind me showed live footage of Thomas's buildings, where workers were already replacing his company logos with mine. Ms. Roberts, my assistant interrupted, Time magazine photographer is here for the cover shoot. America's newest real estate baroness. Perfect timing, I smiled. Dad, Thomas, would you like to be in the photo? You can sit at a small table in the corner. The color drained from their faces as they finally understood. The daughter they'd dismissed had become the emperor they'd failed to recognize. One last thing, I said standing up. Those investment reports you mocked? They were acquisition strategies for buying every property you ever wanted. Next time, maybe look closer at who's sitting at the children's table. Ms. Roberts, my phone lit up one final time. Your net worth just hit $14 billion. You are now officially Chicago's wealthiest individual. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's watching them realize that the child they dismissed now owns every chair they'll ever sit in.